I report good news and I report bad news. But when it comes to hazard pay, bad news is coming. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Afternoons LATE, our 2-hour programming block that starts with a check, then goes to hazard pay, then FPUC, and finally rent. Boy, it has been an incredibly great day for you. Incredibly great news. If you're looking for stimulus check, FPUC, rent, mortgage forbearance. Incredibly great news because that will be in the narrowly tailored second stimulus package bill that will be introduced next week and will likely get approved within days. The focus for Mark Meadows now is to get that bill out next week. It introduces to the Senate and get it approved. If you're noticing what I just said, nowhere was mentioned hazard pay. What I have to report to you right now may not be good news for some of you. What Meadows is going to do is great news for the vast majority of this channel of viewers who need the stimulus checks now, who need the unemployment benefits now, who need the rent eviction and mortgage forbearance now. So he fully believes that those are issues that are agreed upon between Democrats and Republicans. He has been talking to them for weeks. And that's going to be in the bill next week, $500 billion. Hazard pay won't be in it. So is hazard pay dead? Is hazard pay ever going to see time of day? And what will happen? Let me get to the incredible news right now. You know, this channel has never sugarcoated anything and has never, ever given you something that may be misconstrued the wrong way. And so when there's good news, sometimes there's bad news. And the bad news is that if you were waiting for hazard pay to land in your bank account this week, next week, the week after, or potentially any time in the month of September, it may not be happening, but may likely happen thereafter. Let me explain what's going on. What's going on is Democrats and Republicans have been speaking to Meadows and Mnuchin, and they realize their commonality, common grounds of incredible great things that they can get out right now, and that Americans need this relief right now. Those common issues of agreement are stimulus checks, $1,200 stimulus checks if you're an individual, $2,400 for a married couple, family of 4, family of 5, $5,000, $6,000. Incredible great news. 10 days it could be in their bank accounts. FPUC extension, $600 a week, $500 a week, $400 a week. I'm reporting it's going to be somewhere around $400 a week. Rent eviction moratoriums. You know, this is September 1. A lot of you have rent due right now. This would protect you to keep you in your apartment or your home. Incredible great news right now. The focus is now. And that is why Mnuchin and Meadows have opted for two choices. The first choice does not give you hazard pay now. The second choice could give you hazard pay thereafter. The first choice is likely to be what's going to happen. A $500 billion bill that provides stimulus checks, an FPUC extension, eviction moratorium, mortgage forbearance, airlines, K-12, and testing. That will be done as a $500 billion bill introduced next week by Mitch McConnell to the Senate for approval. Meadows says is going to get approved within 1 week, go to the House and be done within a 1-week time frame, and then everything will be sent out to the American people. Amen. It doesn't include hazard pay. It doesn't include hazard pay. So it'd be inappropriate, incorrect for me to say that what's happening next week will get you hazard pay. There's no indication that that bill will have hazard pay because Meadows went over line item what's going to happen in that bill. Now, there is another possibility. Actually, there's two other possibilities. Meadows said that what he and Mnuchin want to do is get that bill, a $500 billion bill, out, and then do about a $600 billion bill right after that, with areas that still need more work on it. When they say more work, it means that they don't have agreement on the issues. That is where hazard pay would be. The question is, whether or not it will survive those negotiations. That's the first thing. The second thing is there's another option. Meadows and Mnuchin are still contemplating next week introducing a bigger bill, a $1.3 trillion bill. That would include everything, and this would just be the stimulus package all the way to January of next year. There won't be any other stimulus package. Instead of two stages, there would be one stage. That could possibly have hazard pay in it. I'm going to tell you, as I'm sitting here right now, based upon what I see today, which certainly could change in the next 4 hours, but based upon what Meadows said, Mnuchin said, what I've been reporting for 3 days on smaller bills, basically a series of stimulus standalone bills put together, is that you're not going to see hazard pay as anything put up for a legislative vote next week. So what does that mean? It means simply what it means, which is do not expect to receive hazard pay as a vote in a bill next week. Do not expect to see hazard pay in your bank account anytime in middle September. Based upon today's developments, I gotta tell you, these things change by the hour. I mean, so I don't want you to completely lose hope because I'm just telling you where we are today. It could totally change tomorrow. It could totally revamp. The Temple of Doom could drop from her ridiculous 2.4 number and go to 1.8. She has hazard pay in there, and you could have hazard pay. We could all be done. You could be getting hazard pay. It could absolutely change like that. But as we sit here tonight, or this afternoon, it's not happening. What's going to happen is likely is you're going to see this $500 billion bill. Then they're going to work on the federal government budget bill that's due by September 30th. Then, somewhere around early October, they would get to stage 2 of this second stimulus package funding, which would be about a $600 billion bill. And at that point, hazard pay will be up for discussions. It's that situation that we have currently. I know that that might not be the type of news you want, but my job is to report the correct news to you. It's not to report incorrect news to you. And as you know, no one has been on top of hazard pay more than I have for you. Been reporting it every single day for nearly 2 months. The U.S. economy needs $1 trillion in fresh COVID-19 stimulus, says the world's largest hedge fund. Now, understand, that's $1 trillion. It's not $500 billion. So that's why you have to do things in 2 stages. So that's really good news. I mean, no one thinks that $500 billion is going to be enough stimulus. It's just the urgent stimulus that needs to go out right now. And let me just qualify something, because I don't want to in any way seem disrespectful to anyone. When I say urgent means things that have been long due, which are stimulus checks, eviction. I mean, nothing's more urgent than someone being thrown out of their house. Nothing's more urgent than unemployment benefits. These are absolutely incredibly urgent things. I'm not saying that hazard pay is not important, and I'm not saying it's not timely. I'm just saying in the hierarchy of things, other things are absolutely need to have been done, weeks ago. All right, so let me get right to what this person said. Greg Jensen of the Bridgewater Associates said that he thinks that another COVID bill will be somewhere between $1.3 trillion and $1.7 trillion for the U.S. economy to continue in the way it's been going. I mean, that's what I've been reporting. I've always said that the amount of stimulus that this country needs is not $2 trillion, it's not $3 trillion, but it's also not $1 trillion. It's somewhere around 1.5 to $2 trillion. That's what this government, what this country needs. And it depends on what it's used for. The policy that gets directly spent in this economy is much more effective per dollar than the dollar that's preventing more bad things from happening, said Jensen this morning. The money for states is going to prevent negatives. The stimulus checks will be direct positives. Earlier this week, White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows said incredible progress. Meadows says that the $915 billion for states is not based upon logic. It's based upon $150 billion for local and state that need it now, and he'll throw in an additional $150 billion. So as you sit here today, where should you think, and what should you believe when you're wondering about hazard pay? Well, it's a lot of money. That's the first thing. Second thing, it's not the top priority. That's the second thing. Third, the people who wrote hazard pay were the Democrats in the House, and they threw it into a bill that had a lot of bad stuff in it that never should have been in there. And ultimately, when you're in a bill that has bad stuff, you get surrounded with the bad stuff, and that's the state bailouts. And so unfortunately, hazard pay is going to be the casualty of a very badly drafted HEROES Act that's not going to be going anywhere. The Republicans have never, ever drafted a bill that has hazard pay in it. They've never have. That's not to say they won't. Meadows made very clear that he's working and negotiating with Democrats, that he's speaking to Democrats in the House, he's speaking to Democrats in the Senate, that he wants their input, that he's making modifications based upon them. But are Senate Democrats doing anything about it? You know, Mitt Romney in the Senate, who's a Republican, has a hazard pay bill. Will he step up the efforts? Ultimately, if you really want hazard pay to be in this stimulus round, I'm not the one drafting the bill, but the people who have been advocates for it, you need to reach out to them. So tag Mitt Romney. Say, you know what, Mitt, I think we should get your hazard pay provision into the stimulus package. His hazard pay bill is great with the exception of one thing. It's less money than the Democrats. But in the scheme of things, money now, guaranteed money, where this employer has to apply for you, it's not discretionary. It would be a legal requirement on your employer, if you're an essential worker, to apply for you. It's something better than a bill that doesn't go anywhere, which is called the HEROES Act. So if you really are watching this video and are a little bit annoyed, which you clearly are, and one hazard pay to be in this first stimulus round next week, tag Mitt Romney. Reach out to your senators and say, hey, I think hazard pay should be in this. The worst case scenario is it's not in the round, but it's front and center for the next round thereafter. Coming up after this is FPUC, unemployment benefits, and the bringing back and the extension of LWA. Do me a favor, subscribe and hit the alert button on this channel so you get alerts as something happens. Hazard pay could change by the minute. It absolutely could change by the minute. Also, like this video. It helps in the algorithm. I know this is a video that may have not been the one you want to hear when it comes to hazard pay. Sometimes bad news is not the type of news you want to hear, but bad informed news is where you want to be, rather than be surprised one morning when you wake up and see it's not on the bill. Ultimately, you can guide the fate of hazard pay. I'm just reporting to you what the situation is currently. Coming up next is FPUC. As always, stay informed, stay motivated, stay smiling, and stay valley.